Wherever you are in the world, welcome to another edition of Jerry's Take on China. Sanjeev MNV4349 asked me an interesting question over the weekend and inspired me to write another article to overcome some of the misperceptions associated with China. The question related to whether we eat such things as insects, scorpions, or worms in China. It seems some people think we do. Please don't forget to like and share my videos if you think they're worthwhile, and consider subscribing. Also, if you have genuine questions, please feel free to ask them. Some of those questions inspire me to write more scripts and hopefully help more people understand the country that I've come to love, and the one I've lived in for nearly 20 years. There's an expression in Cantonese: if it has wings and it isn't a plane, or it has legs and it isn't a table, then it can be eaten. However, like all expressions that find their way into languages, it isn't completely true. It's fair to say, though, that Chinese people will eat a lot of things that we Westerners don't approve of. One of the reasons for this is very simple. In my lifetime, China has been through a devastating famine. Millions died. It's not known how many, but millions died. And although Western media, politicians, and some uninformed racists point at Mao Zedong as being responsible for this, they forget that at the time, the USA had sanctioned China. There may have been some poor policy decisions by Mao. He even acknowledged that. But there was definitely some intent in the US administration of the time for Chinese deaths to occur. Other countries, including the UN, had lifted the sanctions when the Korean War came to an end. But USA unilaterally maintained the embargo all the way through to 1971. Nevertheless, when we're starving, we will eat anything, and so the myth was born. Chinese will make soup out of wood or bark, for example. Well, despite being well nourished now, Chinese still make soup with wood or bark, or sometimes what appear to be weeds, because they contain medicinal properties that are used in traditional medicine. So it's true. I've enjoyed some very delicious soups with what appear to be chips of wood in them. Some of them are extremely bitter too, but apparently they're good for us. Before anyone laughs this off as superstition, think about quinine, the most important discovery in the world for malaria. Quinine is a product made from the bark of a tree. It's also extremely bitter, so was hidden in tonic water and then added to gin to keep colonial Brits healthy in places where malaria was fatal. Even the word tonic is a word used to describe some beneficial property to make us feel better. It isn't just the Chinese who know this stuff. It's been around for millennia. There are some people in China, especially in the south, who do eat insects, but it's not a general habit. Neither is eating dog, which was common but not ubiquitous. And the idea of eating cats would be abhorrent to most Chinese. In fact, China introduced laws in 2020 during the COVID pandemic banning the sale of dogs as food. And although there are some illegal activities still going on, this has been welcomed by most Chinese people as a good move. The selling of cats for food was never legal. But the same legislation also banned the sale of live meat in markets and the sale of many exotic animals, which could still be found in some places. If we see them now, they are illegal. But if someone wants to buy a live chicken to take home and slaughter, they can. The animals are still sold outside the markets for people who really like fresh meat. There are some kinds of worms which grow in rice fields. They're a little like an eel, and they're eaten mostly in the south. Again, that's probably because most rice is grown in the south, and that's where these animals exist. Chinese people don't eat earthworms or any other general bugs, or if they do, I've never seen them. I was once invited to a dinner in a rural part of China and was given bee larvae as part of the meal. My initial thoughts were that this is going to be disgusting, and on tasting them, I discovered I should have trusted my initial thoughts. They were disgusting, at least to me. But the locals enjoyed them, and if you think about it, They're simply a byproduct of collecting honey, which most of us do enjoy. Chinese do eat parts of animals that we in the West don't eat. They enjoy chewing on a spicy duck's chin, or the neck, or a chicken foot. And one of my wife's favorite dishes is fish head soup. There are a lot of vegetarians here, but they're generally Buddhists, and the number of vegetarians in China has apparently dropped from more than 9% to about 5.4%, meaning there are probably about 70 to 75 million vegetarians in the country. There isn't really a vegan or vegetarian movement such as exists in the West, because as far as Chinese people are concerned, generally, unless there's a religious reason for not killing animals, then there's certainly no societal reason for it. Some of the more unusual animals regularly eaten are frogs, which taste like chicken, and crocodile, which also tastes like chicken. So we're better off eating chicken. Snakes can be found in some places, but that is rare now. I've eaten snake twice, and both times I would describe them as tasting like KFC, but without the meat, just the crispy skin. The city where I live is famous for its roast pigeon, and it's delicious. It's also the reason why we can't find the flying pests anywhere in this city. Perhaps there's a lesson here for places like London and Venice, which are plagued by the birds, known locally in London anyway, as rats with wings. One thing to note though is that here they're not wild birds ravaged with parasites or diseases. They are farmed and controlled, just like chicken. Scorpions. They are available in one place in China that I've been to, and I've been to a lot of places, and this is Wang Fujing in Beijing. It's an exotic food street and mostly for tourists. Of course, the huge number of tourists who go there are usually Chinese tourists to Beijing, but many foreigners find their way there, and the travel videos do make it onto YouTube. So some people who've never been to China think this is the norm. It most certainly isn't. You can eat starfish, other bugs that you won't find on any menu anywhere else in China. It's just Wang Fujing. So it's not true they will eat anything in China, but it's certainly true that we can be surprised by some of the foods eaten in China. The main point is, no matter what is eaten, there is a reason, and that reason historically may have come from necessity, but more likely just because it was there and it either tasted good or it provided something that we need. Thanks once again for watching Jerry's Take on China, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye for now.